Dear you, you didn't notice it at first. Not when your shoulders stayed tense even on quiet days. Not when your thoughts raced ahead of the moment you were in. Not when rest stopped feeling restful. You just learned how to live that way. You learned how to move quickly through your mornings. How to answer questions before they were fully asked. How to anticipate what might be needed so you wouldn't be caught unprepared. You learned how to stay alert, how to stay ready, how to stay composed, and because you could do all of that, you assumed it was normal. But there were signs. You sighed more often without knowing why. You felt relieved when plans were canceled, then guilty for feeling relieved. You felt tired even after sleeping. You felt uneasy in moments that were supposed to be calm. You told yourself it was just stress, or just responsibility, or just how life felt when you were doing it. Right. You didn't stop to question it because questioning felt like one more thing to manage. So you kept going, carrying that quiet tension with you everywhere. Like background noise you eventually stopped noticing. You weren't unhappy. That's important. You still laughed. You still cared. You still found moments of joy. But underneath all of that, there was a subtle pressure, like you were always bracing for something, even when nothing was wrong. Like you were holding your breath without realizing it. You felt it most in stillness. When nothing demanded your attention, your body didn't relax, it waited. When the room was quiet, your mind filled it. When you finally had time to yourself, you didn't know what to do with it. Silence felt unfamiliar. Calm felt suspicious. And because you couldn't explain it clearly, you didn't talk about it. You didn't want to sound dramatic. You didn't want to make a big deal out of something that seemed so subtle. So you told yourself it was fine. You told yourself you were just being sensitive. You told yourself to push through. But pushing through has a cost. The cost was feeling constantly on. The cost was never fully arriving in the moment. The cost was feeling like rest had conditions attached to it. You didn't choose this intentionally. It happened gradually, through experiences that taught you to stay alert, through responsibilities that asked you to be reliable, through moments where letting your guard down felt risky, and over time, your body learned that staying ready was safer than relaxing. If you're reading this and quietly thinking, this feels familiar, it's because many people live this way without language for it. They don't feel anxious enough to worry. They don't feel calm enough to rest. They exist somewhere in between, functional, capable, and quietly tense. You weren't broken. You weren't doing anything wrong. You were adapting, and adaptation, when it lasts too long, can feel like identity. Imagine holding a glass of water in your hand. At first, it's easy. The weight is barely noticeable. You don't think about it. You just hold it. Minutes pass. Then longer. The glass doesn't get heavier, but your arm does. Muscles tighten. Your grip adjusts. Still, you keep holding it, telling yourself it's not that heavy. Eventually, the strain becomes impossible to ignore. This is what it's like to live in a constant state of readiness. The weight isn't dramatic. It doesn't announce itself, but over time, it exhausts you. And because you've been holding it for so long, you forget that putting it down is an option. Your past self understands now why your body stayed tense and your mind stayed busy. You had been carrying emotional weight without release, expectations, responsibilities, unspoken worries, self-monitoring. All of it accumulated slowly, without a clear moment where you could say, "This is too much." You became skilled at managing yourself. You regulated emotions quickly. You anticipated problems before they happened. You stayed one step ahead. Those skills helped you survive. They helped you succeed. But they also taught your system that safety required constant vigilance. And once that belief takes hold, rest starts to feel unfamiliar, even unsafe. This isn't about trauma or crisis. It's about repetition. About living in environments that reward productivity more than presence. About learning sometimes unconsciously. That being relaxed means being unprepared. About internalizing the idea that calm is something you earn, not something you're allowed to have. Your past self sees now that you weren't bad at relaxing. You were simply unfamiliar with it. You had spent so long holding things together that your body forgot what it felt like to fully let go. And when the body doesn't trust stillness, it fills it with tension instead. This is why rest didn't always work. This is why days off still felt busy. This is why silence felt loud. You weren't failing at self-care. You were trying to rest without first teaching yourself that rest was safe. Understanding this changes the tone of the conversation you have with yourself. Instead of asking, "Why can't I relax?" you start to ask, "What am I still bracing for?" And that question opens space for compassion rather than judgment. You weren't holding your breath because you wanted to. You were holding it because you learned to. And learned patterns can be unlearned not through force, but through patience. Right now, pause with me for a moment. Not to fix anything, not to understand everything, just to notice. Notice your breath, not to change it, just to feel it. Notice whether your body feels tense or settled. Notice how much effort you're using to simply be here. There's no right answer. There's only awareness. You don't need to let go all at once. You don't need to suddenly feel calm. You don't need to drop every responsibility or expectation. Coming back to your breath, coming back to ease is a gradual process. One that begins with permission. Permission to stop bracing when nothing is wrong. Permission to rest without justification. Permission to exist without performing readiness. You are allowed to exhale. Not metaphorically, physically, emotionally. You can start small. Let your shoulders drop when you notice they're tight. Take one deeper breath when you remember. Allow silence to last a few seconds longer before filling it. These moments are not insignificant. They're signals to your body that it's safe to soften. Some days, the tension will return. That doesn't mean you're failing. It means patterns don't dissolve overnight. Be gentle with yourself when that happens. Speak to yourself the way you would to someone who has been carrying a lot for a long time. You don't need to stop being capable to feel at ease. You don't need to stop caring to feel calm. You don't need to let everything go to let something go. Over time, your system will learn. It will learn that nothing bad happens when you relax your grip. It will learn that presence is not dangerous. It will learn that you don't have to be ready for everything at all times. If you're listening to this and thinking, "This feels like me," that's because many people are quietly holding their breath too. And there is comfort in knowing you're not alone in that experience. There is relief in realizing that tension doesn't define you. It's something you can release slowly. Take one more breath now. Let it be easy. Let it be enough. You've been strong for a long time. You don't have to prove that anymore. You're allowed to soften. You're allowed to rest inside your own life. You're allowed to exhale and trust that you'll still be okay. You don't need to hold everything up. You don't need to stay ready. You can put the glass down. Sincerely, you